You know, I'm not somebody that thinks it's okay to take someone's life. I'm not there. But I've just been pushed in a corner and beaten down for so long that, again, you know, just something snapped. And when he threatened to take my son's life, he was going to take him and lay him on the train tracks and kill him if I didn't admit to having sex with a couple that with a girl and her boyfriend that I worked with, who I never had sex with. But no matter who I came in contact with, I was having sex with them in his mind, you know. And we went through a whole thing, and then he said he was going to commit suicide. And he took a bunch of amitriptyline, and he was laying on the floor in the living room and saying, I'm going to die, it's coming, is there anything that you want to say? And I was sitting in the adjacent doorway from the bedroom to the living room, and I was crying, and I was like, please don't do this, please don't do this. And he's like, it's coming, I can feel it coming. And he started shaking. And I felt just this immense, and people say, you know, I just felt, you know, just this release of pressure run up my body, you know, and this weight, this release of a weight. And I felt that, you know, and it started from my feet, and I could feel it travel all the way up my body. Just my body felt light from the area that it had passed, you know, all the way up to the top of my head. And I felt crying, and I was happy. And I was happy that he was dying. And he started snoring. And I realized that he had just gone unconscious. And so I walked towards the kitchen table, and I was going to, you know, I was focused on the knives, and I was going to kill him. And because this is one time where I didn't have to worry about him overpowering me, this is one time where I could end it, you know. And I looked at the table. There's a kitchen table in between, and there were papers and pencils and on top of it, and pens, and I remember thinking the pen is mightier than the sword. So I wrote him a goodbye letter. I took my son, I took my dog, and I took off.
Wow. A lot of women get in trouble. I have had other guests on my show, and they get in trouble because they get so angry, because they got attacked without any reason, and they just get so tired from being treated that way, and they just do stupid things like attack their attacker, and some of them end up in jail. And you did a wonderful thing living that day. This was the end, probably. So that's amazing.
Yes, I don't regret it at all. I mean, I'm glad that I didn't kill him, because that would have put my son in a foster home. Then I would have had, you know, because I didn't make any police reports. I didn't have a history of violence. People heard it. People saw it. Nobody ever did anything about it. So in my mind, you know, the thought of killing him was just because nobody else was going to help me. You know, I knew other people knew, but nobody else was going to help. So I had to do it myself. You know, but luckily I was given an opportunity where I could get out, where I could walk away. And because the times that I was thinking about trying before always fell through. He was always right there. And I knew that if he caught me leaving, he would end it. You know, so getting out, you know, feeling like I was never going to have the opportunity to try to get out, you know, and I did, you know. So, yeah, luckily I was given that option, you know, before something really bad happened that couldn't go back, and I would have had to deal with killing somebody for the rest of my life, with taking a life, you know, and I don't think that I could have handled that.
Yeah. Do you think he had a psychological problem, or this had to do just because he wanted to control you? He was so jealous.
All the above. I mean, you know, bipolar, you know, just up and down. The ups and downs are just, you know, overly obvious looking back on it now. You know, he was, I mean, it was like the movie A Beautiful Mind, where, you know, he saw things that had a certain number in it. It would be about him. You know, movies, magazine articles, newspaper articles. We couldn't go from one place to another without just going just a covert route because the government was following us. He also had addictions where, he wanted me to be with other people, and that wasn't something that I was comfortable with. Drug usage, it was just a little bit of everything, schizophrenia. All of these things, which as far as the schizophrenia and the bipolar, I don't think that was ever diagnosed medically, but just on it and reading up on it, and because I read up on a lot of stuff after I left, because I did still feel like it was my fault. I did still question if it was my fault, everything was there, and it was just right there in front of me. So yes, I think it was emotional. I think it was, he was abused as a child from what he told me. So maybe it was just reclaiming that power back over somebody else. Maybe it was feeling like he didn't have any power in his life and having to, push it onto another person. I just think it was all the above.
Yeah, women often think they're an enabler of the whole situation, and they find excuses because of the past of the spouse, what happened to him, but I honestly don't think this is excuse for the behavior in their new relationship with the new partner and the life they live. And I think everybody has enough inside themselves to handle what happened and to know what is wrong and what is right. So I don't think this is excuse in this kind of situation.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's really any excuse other than an entitlement of power, of control, making him feel better to see somebody else hurt, because he'd be fine after he beat me. He'd be really upset before he did, but he'd be perfectly fine after he did. And so, and there's been a lot of people that didn't have a good childhood. There's a lot of people that haven't had good lives, but that doesn't mean they go around hurting the people that they're supposed to love. So it's an excuse. It's not a reason.
So how do you feel after you left him? What steps did you take?
I had just gotten paid. I drove to a town far enough away and checked into a motel and got a few things. I set up all night, and I remember little things. I remember flipping through the channel at the motel room and stopping on one of the channels that he used to that he'd watch all the time and going, wait, I don't have to watch this. And just going through, and I didn't know what kind of TV I like. I didn't know anything. And do I like this? I don't even know anymore. And then I took my son out to ice cream the next day, and I was sitting there like Baskin Robbins looking at all these flavors of ice cream. I had no idea what kind of ice cream I liked. I had none. The only kind of ice cream we could ever have was chocolate. And that was the way it was for 12 years. And, I had no idea. We went to McDonald's. I had no idea what to order. It was overwhelming. It was extremely overwhelming. And then I had to have a run-in with him a couple of times. The police were involved both times. And once I was actually able to get away, he came and he took I stayed with a woman that I worked with. He came and took the vehicle back. The cops met me at the house. He was hiding in the ceiling. And the cop went outside and he showed up in the doorway, and I thought I was going to die right then. And I was able to talk my way out of it to, get some of my stuff, and I was throwing things in a clothes basket, my son's clothes, my clothes, because I didn't take anything from me, and ended up going to a town nearby, and I had a friend that ran a carpet store there, and he gave me a room to stay in. He paid for me to stay in a room for the night. And I took my son to McDonald's, and which I used to work. I'd worked there previously, and I saw a woman that I used to wait on all the time, and she was with a friend. She was praying, and I asked her, hey, could you guys say a prayer for me? I just left an abusive relationship, and that was the first time, really, out of my mouth to a stranger that I admitted that I had been abused, and they asked me to come to their church. Anyways, I ended up getting in contact with my aunt that was in California, and I started to take off. And so they gave me gas and a car seat because she had tore the car seat apart and everything to go to California. And I lived in western Oklahoma at the time. And so on my way to California, I stopped at, and I don't remember anything about the drive. I mean, it was just like I was on autopilot. And I was just so beside myself. I didn't know if what I was doing was right. Here I was taking his son away from him, and I was taking a child away from a father. I was the only way he had to survive because I was the only one that worked. So I was taking his livelihood away. He wasn't going to be able to pay bills. He wasn't going to be able to eat. He wasn't going to be able to support himself, and all this guilt started setting in. And I checked into a weekly motel in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the first night, my son went to sleep, and I was laying in bed and I was crying. And I was like, God, I don't know if what I'm doing is the right thing. I just need some kind of sign. And I went to sleep, and I had a dream that we were in a vehicle, and I said something, and he was bashing my head against the passenger window. The window of the door. And in the middle of my dream, I said to myself, it's okay, Elizabeth, when you wake up, he's not going to be there. And I woke up, and I had chills all over my body. I had chills just talking about it. And I went, okay, I'm doing the right thing. This is what's right. This is what's okay. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't have to worry about being waken up in the middle of the night and getting hit. I don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing. I don't have to worry about walking on eggshells because if I don't, I'm going to get hurt and I might lose my life. Now I just have to worry about me and I have to worry about my son, and I'm free. And I think that when I thought the word free, that word had never had so much emphasis in my life as it did at that moment, because I was free. The ties were broken. He was not going to get to me anymore, and I was free.
Yeah, that's the best feeling in the world, to feel free, to be yourself again, to breathe and not to be afraid from anything, and just do whatever it feels right for you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So did you have any friends during your relationship with him? Did he isolate you from everybody back? Because this is a part of being in an abusive relationship.
Oh, yeah, I had no friends. On one hand, it was just easier not to have anybody because I wasn't going to be, he wasn't going to tell me that I was sleeping with him, with the people that I was friends with. So that was easier for me because that just eased that part of the situation. And he always told me about how people were laughing behind my back, how I didn't have any real friends, how no one really liked me. What a horrible person I was, how stupid. I was ugly. I was, there was no one that was ever going to like me for who I was. Because who would? Just look at yourself. Yeah, look at the person that you are. Who would want to be friends with that? And so I felt an inability to have friends. I was completely taken away from my family. He threatened to kill them. After he'd gotten me far enough away from them, he threatened, I should just go back and kill them all. So then I felt an entitlement to protect my family. And I think that surpassed the feelings that I had to protect him. But I wasn't allowed to have any kind of friends whatsoever. And no. So, I'm still learning about, what it is to have friends. And I've had friends for, it's been about 7 years now since I left him. Now I have friends and stuff that, but it's still difficult, and sometimes, it's still difficult not to be in a social situation and not just completely feel like you don't belong. And like, everybody's so happy with their lives, and everybody's just so